Good morning, good morning, good morning, my friends. I know you have been holding your breath. I know you have been sitting there with a trembling cup of coffee because you've been waiting to hear from myself and my guest. As always, it would be me, it would not be myself. For those of you that don't know, real quick, my name is Patrick Allman, and I run a company called Stop Doing Nothing, where we just basically kind of on the personal and business side, kick your ass into daily action. We haven't gone live on the fan page in a while, so this is going to be a little bit of a treat for me and hopefully educational for you. Now, if all I did was talk all the time, you would get tired of my voice. Even I get tired of my voice. So I like to bring in someone on a monthly basis who knows more than I do and has a much better wardrobe choice. So if you're sitting at home, please raise your coffee cup, raise your teacup for Mr. Phil Gerbyshak. There you go.
What's up, Patrick? Nice. Cheers. I've got my
what
cup
kind
too.
Of coffee cup
yeah,
is
it's
that,
Thor Ragnarok. Yeah, it's got the Contest of Champions. So it's got Thor on this side with the Thor wings from his helmet. And on the other side, of course, who is the other champion, bud?
Can't see.
The Hulk.
Oh, the Hulk. Got it. So are you a Marvel?
Remember when they kicked each other? Yeah, I love Marvel. I saw Shang-Chi. I believe it's Shang-Chi. I saw it this weekend. It was awesome, man. It was so good. Absolutely. Big fan.
Yeah, I grew up as more of a DC guy, but I'm sorry, the movies have kind of converted me over to a Marvel fan. They really have. I think I'm really into the self-destructive behavior of Tony Stark. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is like when he's at like this birthday party drunk and he's just like using the stuff to blow up stuff, like throwing champagne bottles in the air and he's just blowing up stuff. I'm like, yeah, self-destructive behavior. Bring it on. That's what we want right there. Oh, so we got a lot to talk about this month, man. And
oh my gosh,
yeah. So for those of you that maybe want to catch up, it's like your first time watching. Make sure you go back and follow Phil's podcast. You follow my podcast. You follow Phil's YouTube. You follow my YouTube because we've got plenty of past shows where we've talked about ways to help you in your personal and professional lives. Today, we're mainly going to be focusing on for those of you who are thinking about starting a business or have one, or maybe you want to look back at like, what could I have done differently in my first kind of 10 days in business? So our main focus today is going to be talking about what you should really be focusing on in that first maybe week or two of your business. We've got a bunch of bullet points to talk about there, but I noticed that before Phil and I got started, we started riffing about tech news a little bit, and so we thought we'd slip in a little bit of tech news for you. So as you're filling up your water cup, your coffee cup, all that, just kind of listen. You don't have to take notes yet, but just kind of listen to some of the things that have been going on in the tech business world that's going to affect Phil, that's going to affect me, that should affect us, but we don't because we're kind of locked down by some rules, but they don't affect some other people. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And so the first one here is, I think, probably one of the bigger tech news for those of us in the email marketing space is MailChimp got bought by Intuit. Phil brought this up in our little pre-show discussion. And just so you know, MailChimp is I'm not going to say one of the first, but probably one of the bigger email marketing companies, newsletter companies. And they're slowly expanding into automation and websites and landing pages. And then like if you haven't heard of QuickBooks, you must have been under a rock since you've been in business. Let me tell you, QuickBooks is like the number one finance program. So I'm kind of on the fence here is what I see for the future of this, but I know my buddy Phil has some good ideas and some good things for the future. So why do you think, first of all, Phil, that Intuit went and bought MailChimp? What's the point there? Because they're like two totally separate companies, dude.
Sure. Well, I think the user base, the user community, there's a lot of overlap there. Yes, they're separate companies. Yes, they solve separate problems. But I think there's a lot of people that use MailChimp that don't use QuickBooks Online, that don't use QuickBooks. I remember the old CDs, that don't use TurboTax, that don't use QuickBooks as a payment gateway, and that don't have a website. They might have barely a newsletter. They might want an app. They might need a subscription community. So as I look at this, and if I were drawing this as two overlapping circles, like a Venn diagram, I would guess that there's a lot of unique users there that's really going to make this a power play for Intuit. Intuit they had one of the first online communities. I remember years ago, they had like their TurboTax and QuickBooks communities were huge. Okay. They were written about in all the books and passionate users. And I see the same with MailChimp. So I think this is an opportunity for them to reinvigorate maybe a dormant state. People who are like, yeah, I have to use QBO, QuickBooks Online, but I don't really love it. Well, now for another $20, $50, $100 a month, now I've got something that could power pretty much my whole business.
Right.
Pretty good opportunity here, I think.
Right. And you brought up something ahead of time is that, initially QuickBooks started off as just an email marketing company. And as we know, all companies transform. So now they've gotten into the landing page business, the website business. I'm not sure if they do SMS marketing, but since they're almost. You
mean MailChimp. You mean MailChimp.
I'm sorry.
Not
QuickBooks. Okay. MailChimp is that way, but they've almost turned into almost like an all-in-one suite, kind of like a ClickFunnels or a Keep or an Entreport or something like that. And so do you think now that they have all those services and now they can just kind of bolt on financing possibly and banking and accounting, do you think that might turn to like the all-in-one suite that you just need for your business?
I think so. I think it certainly is an opportunity to do that. You can right. So if we think about this, and we're going to talk about all the things that you need in a little bit for your business, but if you can take money and you can communicate with customers, you have a business. Right. Let's be really clear. Those are the two things that you have to absolutely have. Because if you can't take money, well, you're not in business. And if you can't talk to your customers, you're not in business. Right. So you need those two things. So absolutely, I think at a minimum, just doing those two things is super important. And yeah, I think as they go, 2020, they offered an integration with simple texting. I would bet that that's probably their next play, to your point, and maybe a video platform. QuickBooks, Intuit, they've got a lot of money, Patrick, and perhaps they're who buys Zoom. Perhaps they're who buys a Blue Jeans. They're who buys this. Maybe they buy an event platform. Hopin bought StreamYard. So perhaps we're going to see that maybe their next play is for SMS or their next play is for a video platform, because that would make sense. Maybe it's Vidyard. Maybe it's something like that, because that's possible. Now the challenge with any of those is those are often more of a enterprise play than they are a small business play. And this is clearly a very clean small business play. No enterprise that I know uses QBO, right? If you're Fortune 5000, you're not playing with QBO. You're not using MailChimp. But maybe that's the direction. I don't know. But I think this is I think this could be the big suite that we've been waiting for a long time.
Yeah, I know there is a QuickBooks Enterprise. So QuickBooks has dipped their toe in the enterprise world. Okay. I don't know anything about that side, but this entire play altogether is not an enterprise play. I would definitely agree with that right there. So for those of you who own MailChimp, if that's your email marketing program, if you own QuickBooks Online, different than the QuickBooks desktop version, by the way, just pay attention to what the two companies are going on, because what this basically means is the MailChimp world's got a lot of money, is going to get a lot of money injected into it. It was a pretty big deal, too. I think it was in the billions. I can't remember the exact.
$12 billion.
Wow.
Bootstrapped. They took on no debt. So this is really interesting, right? 12 billion cash. Wow.
Yeah, that's a big deal. If I ACH $1,000 from me to somebody, I can imagine ACHing $12 billion. Yeah, that would be quite the or a check. I'm sure Intuit just walked over with a giant lottery check and just gave it.
Congratulations!
Exactly.
You won the Publishers Clearinghouse.
$12 billion. And it would have been really cool if Dr. Evil had walked over and given the check. $12 billion right there. That would have been awesome. Okay, so basically the summary what we're saying right here is if you have QuickBooks Online or you have MailChimp, pay attention to the deal that's going on. Something else, and we don't have to talk about this one too terribly long, is there was a big hack discovered in the world of iOS. And we all know how much the world relies on our Apple devices. I've got mine right here, and you're watching me on one, and there's one, and there's one, and there's one over there. There was a pretty significant hack discovered. So I've been pushing everybody on social media, and hopefully you've done it also, Phil, is to go and update your iOS on your phone and your tablet ASAP. I did my iPad and my phone last night. My watch is pending, and it just so happens when Apple pushes out updates, they do it to your Mac operating system also. So it doesn't hurt to upgrade your Mac. Have you updated yet, Phil?
Of course. Yeah, I did it yesterday too. I tweeted it out late last night as soon as I saw the news about that. I don't remember. Maybe I saw it from you first. I don't know. I mean, like you, right? I read it from a million places. But yeah, I did it last night. I don't know, about 7 o'clock. I went, to, my daughter, my wife, we've got iPhones. I'm like, get your devices updated now. And of course,
Exactly.
the blank stare of, what?
What?
Which is exactly why people need to listen to people who do this stuff for a living, right?
Yeah. I think it's going to get you to version 14.5 or to 14.6, but whatever it is, don't do it right now while you're watching us, because we don't want you to lose your connection right here. But please definitely, when you get done watching us, hop off and update that iOS. A good time to do it, by the way, is like right when you go to bed or right when you're hopping in the shower. Those are the two times I always apply updates right there. So just go do it. Now, another good story, which I wasn't paying a lot of attention to, but as always, brilliant Phil brought this up, is for those of you that are really big into social media, and you covet your blue check marks. I have no idea what it's like because I don't have a blue check mark. But there was a story that came out that talked about how verified people on Facebook, which are the blue check mark people, basically were able to skirt and circumvent some of the rules, some of the normal controls that we have here at Facebook. I know Phil definitely knows a lot more about this. So what's going on in that area, Phil? What's up with the blue check mark society, man?
Yeah, well, 5.6 million users have their own set of rules on Facebook. They can post whatever they want. They're not really monitored. In fact, Facebook has said, and I quote, "We're not actually doing what we say we do publicly." We're not actually doing what we say we do publicly, which tells me, right, that there are elite people that can do whatever the heck they want on Facebook. Now, I'm not surprised by this. I don't think anybody really, if you really think critically, we know this is true. We know that we follow some people, some pages, some businesses that do whatever the heck they want to, seemingly on Facebook. They post things that are hateful, things that are misogynistic, that are racist, that are misinformation, that are disinformation, that are meant to do harm.
Right.
And those people have been ignored. They have said, you know what? Hey, you go post whatever you want, and it's okay. But we're going to lie to the public and say we're doing all we can to curb this stuff. And I'll tell you right now, I mean, it's really tough because as a business owner, of course, I look to leaders to do things, right? I look to, I'm just going to pick on one he's, to my knowledge, never posted any disinformation. Gary Vee, right? Gary Vee is a leader. I would say in our space, Patrick, whether that's digital marketing, digital selling, content strategy, anything, thought leadership, Gary's the guy. I've never seen him post anything, but I'll tell you what, I know he gets things before you and I do. I know that he has abilities and features on these platforms before you and I do. And I'm like, man, why can't I get that? It's almost like Gary gets a $100 million head start on these new platforms. I mean, swipe up on Instagram. He got, before I even knew what swipe up was on Instagram, he got things that nobody else had. And now, of course, people catch up and there's probably a next great thing. And, good for Gary for being a leader, but shame on these platforms for lying to people and saying, oh yeah, we actually are doing all we can to level the playing field, when in reality, you and I can buy ads, Patrick, and we're never going to get the reach of some of these because the rules just aren't the same.
The one that, I guess, like you said, Gary Vee or some of the people that we know in social media don't post disinformation, but the feature access is the one that, you know what, I guess what really concerns me here is the ability that they have, the ability to say things that don't get moderated. And things like that. You were talking, in the pre-show a little bit about the person who posted some revenge porn up there, that it took a long while before it was impacted. Whereas if you or I had done that, that would have been squashed. You wouldn't have been able to log into Facebook in 5 minutes after we posted it. And that's real.
Yeah, that's not fair.
Yeah. Not that either you or I would ever do that and that we want that kind of fairness. That's what we're talking about. That's a pretty extreme example. But the fact that when you have a larger voice, you have more of an impact. And I would say, I don't know anybody who doesn't want a larger voice and more of an impact online. We all want that. But it's the whole double-edged sword thing. When you do good things, you're going to get things ahead of time, just like you said. And when you do bad things, more people are going to see it. Well, at least you think Facebook would say, okay, we know that happens, and we're going to apply the same rules. But that's the difference. What a blue check mark means is all Facebook has done is verify that you are actually who you say are. They have pulled up Phil's driver's license, and they compare it to Phil's account and say, oh, this is Phil. It doesn't mean they've checked him out. It doesn't mean whether or not they know if he's conservative or liberal, or whether he's a serial killer or anything like that. They just know that his driver's license matches his face, and they want him to have more influence. So what this means now is not only do you get more influence, but thank you for showing us your driver's license. You get to be above the rules, and it's disheartening, but. The old curmudgeon in me says it's just kind of always felt like that in the world, and I'm still not happy about it. But out in the real world, movie stars and politicians and stuff, they get to abide by things or they get to go around rules that the rest of us don't get to go around. And the one that really comes to mind in my time frame is when like senators and I think senators and congressmen in general. At the U.S. level, they were able to like bounce a ton of checks and have no repercussions from it. I don't know how old you are, Phil, but I remember if I bounced enough checks, my bank would shut me down and stop letting me cash checks. But not if you're at the national level, not if you're a congressman. They could bounce checks and go thousands of dollars of debts, and their bank accounts would not stop them.
Yeah, it's right. I mean, it's so interesting that we would even charge people for not having enough money. Right. I mean, that's just so interesting, right? You're going to pay more because you have less. That's so interesting, right? I'm not suggesting that people should write $1 million out of your account and try to, that shouldn't cost you anything. But my point is, if you overdraw by 62 cents, you shouldn't get a $65, fee on top of that. That just seems kind of counterproductive there. And to your point about Congress people, my goodness, right? I mean, and why does it take? Why does it take an investigative reporter to find these things out? Why does it take someone at the Wall Street Journal to find out that Facebook, even though they say one thing publicly, they have an oversight board that they were required to get, that they basically flipped the middle finger to the public and Congress and to the oversight board and said, nope, hey, you know what? I'm Mark Zuckerberg and I can do whatever I want to do because it's my platform. I'll tell you what, if I do not like more regulation, to be perfectly clear, that's not my jam. I'm not a pro-regulation person. I like less regulation. That being said, this is hurtful. This hurts people. The 60 million people watching some revenge porn before Facebook does anything about it.
Right.
Are you kidding me? Right. And they're doing stuff now that is just so bad and allowing things. I mean, the latest craziness is let's allow people to drink betadine and their tea to try to cure COVID. Are you kidding me? Like, you're an idiot. Why do you believe that? I mean, that's just, that's the thing. I mean, there's no reason that Facebook could say, oh yeah, we're going to throttle misinformation and then allow stuff like this if it's posted by a prominent figure who is in this platform. Nope, no. As long as this person says it, we're just going to keep it going. Why is that? The almighty dollar.
Yeah, pretty much it is. I mean, if you have a big audience and you can get reach and you can get eyeballs, that will rule over everything. And it's upsetting, and we could probably sit here and talk a whole hour about it. We really could. But just be aware that whenever you're comparing your account online to someone who has a blue check mark, yes, it sounds like basically they're going to get away with more than you can. And as much as we'd like to bitch and moan and scream about it, it's just kind of the way it is. Facebook is a private platform, and they do a lot of things that none of us like. And so I'm just going to have to choose to punch that, go to the gym and punch you out and throw some weights around and get frustrated about it. But I just really can't do anything about it. There's really not much I can do anything about. On a future show, we're going to be talking about building communities on non-Facebook platforms. We decided we have enough content in this show that we're not going to do that. But for example, just to give you a teaser, I'm a big fan of platforms like Circle and Mighty Networks, and they're doing some amazing things. And so I'm working with some clients, and I'm going to be building up, probably a private social media network on Mighty Networks. So stay tuned for that if you're interested. I want to make sure we keep moving along here. So the coolest, the latest and greatest thing, Google tried this. Facebook's going to try it. Let's see if they work it out. Are you ready for it? Glasses, social media glasses. So Ray-Ban has now partnered up with Facebook, and if you've got three big, are Benjamins $100 bills?
Yep, three Benjamins. Right. Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I haven't seen a $100 bill. I don't know how long. But now you're partnering up. Facebook is partnering up with Ray-Ban, and now they make these social media glasses that you can use. And I'm sure there's a button here someplace to press to record a story. $300. You're on the Ray-Ban website. There's three different models. I wasn't really big into the Google Glasses thing, and that experiment didn't last very long. I don't know, Phil. What do you think about wearing around Ray-Ban glasses that record what you're doing?
Well, first, I think it's funny that you totally skipped over the Snap glasses. Remember, Snapchat had these glasses too.
Oh, I didn't
Google
remember
started
that.
it. Yeah, man. So Snap had it second. Google had it first, right? And I'll tell you what, my favorite part about the Facebook one is thank God we don't see Robert Scoble in the shower with his Facebook glasses. Sorry, Patrick, that's a flashback. But yep, so that was the first Google glasses that I saw. Holly Duckworth had a pair of Google glasses, if you remember.
Right.
And then we went, and then we went to Snap glasses. Snap had them, and now Facebook has them. I think it's, the interesting thing is first, they're stylish. That's important, right? So for me, my glasses are my jam, man. If I don't have glasses, people don't recognize me. So glasses, okay, stylish, perhaps, all right. Second thing is it only does a few things. It listens to music. Okay, well, that's Bose headset. That's cool. I like that, right? Or Bose glasses. I like that.
Oh, okay. Bose glasses. Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, Bose has sunglasses that you can hear music in, or you can probably take calls in. I haven't played with them, but I have seen them. And what you can do, though, is you can take video and pictures with these glasses, probably without people even knowing what you're doing. So it's probably like a tap on the bow of your glasses to start the video, probably like 3 taps to start video, probably 1 tap to quickly snap a picture, something like that. That is creepy. But I remember as a kid, right, we could buy from the back of Boy's Life, we could get those X-ray glasses that were so interesting. So I thought this is interesting. And I really genuinely wonder how many people buy this stuff, because frankly, the tech, as you mentioned, it's been here, right, 6-7 years, and the quality, right, the megapixelization is not great. The zoom is probably not going to be great, because if the zoom was great, it would interfere with the glasses part and make the world look weird. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, Patrick. I'm not sure. I mean, is this going to be the next body cam for anti-police? Is this going to be something? I don't know, man. Right? I mean, there's a lot here that this could be. And for $300, okay, maybe people play with it. I mean, what Google Glasses I think was $7.99 or $6.99 when it came out. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was more. Right? Snap's glasses were less, but all you could do was Snapchat. Well, now, if you could do video and it live streams via wireless, via Wi-Fi, I'm curious. Does it have its own transmitter, right? Does it connect to my Verizon network? Does it connect to my AT&T network? Does it do that in real time, or does it have to be on Wi-Fi? I didn't really read all of that, but I think as a business owner, right, this has some potential. If you're walking around your store, you could now do a quick live stream. If you're in if we're speaking at an event, Patrick, I could see that this might be an interesting way to two-way, so that we can call in the audience and say, hey, Patrick, over there, and look at you. And now we switch cameras, and now it's on you, me looking at you instead of you looking at me. So I think this has some interesting potential, but we'll see. It remains to be seen. Will it be accepted? Will people think it's creepy? Does it have to do an audible? Patrick Almond, you are being recorded by Phil Gerbyshak's Ray-Ban glasses. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. What do you think about this?
The first thing that comes, well, not counting covering the points that you already covered. There are two things that came to mind while you were talking. One is the only time I could see using these is when I want someone to experience it from exactly my perspective, not how I want them to experience it, how it looks exactly to my eyes. And we have to remember that what I share on social media is not what I see, whether it's pictures or videos. So I may see something, but on my phone, I'm focusing and presenting a particular picture, which is a subset of everything that I am seeing. The glasses, whether it was Google glasses or these glasses, they're presenting exactly what my eyes are seeing. So if I do something really bizarre, like, someone bumps me and I happen to look down at their butt, that's what my viewers are going to see. You wouldn't see that if I was holding up my phone on something and somebody bumped me with their butt. My phone would be up here. So I guess the biggest thing out of everything you said and everything I've thought about so far is the fact that it doesn't, as much as we like sharing things online, we don't always share exactly what our eyes are pointing at. We share, we look at everything that's going on at a concert or a speaking event or at the grocery store. We say, oh, I want to share this one particular piece of my entire visible world. So I think I would, if they were given to me or I was able to get them at a discount, I think I would probably buy them and use them in certain situations. Maybe like when I was exercising or walking around the lake or something where everything in my field of view I would want someone to see. Like I said, like at the gym or maybe at the airport when I'm just kind of documenting my travel. But in day-to-day stuff or like working in the office, I don't know. I can't. I have trouble spending $300 on prescription regular glasses, let alone a thing of Ray-Bans. I've never been a big fashion person. So this is one of my wait and see things. All the other things we've talked about here, the Facebook thing that just pisses off both of us, the iOS update, that's a no-brainer. Please get that done. MailChimp being bought by Intuit, that's cool stuff. But the Facebook glasses to me are kind of a wait and see. I won't be buying them anytime soon. Hopefully Mark Zuckerberg will be watching my Facebook Lives as he does all the time, and he'll send me a pair right there. That's what I'm hoping right there. Okay, I want to make sure we keep moving along here. So that was our news for the day. Any more talk on the Facebook glasses, or you want to move on?
No, let's go on. I think let's add some more value instead of just some speculation.
Got it. Okay. Our main topic for today, which we talked about at the very beginning, is kind of looking back when we started our entrepreneurial journey. And for those of you that are considering starting it, the things that you really should and should not be doing in the first 10 days of business. I've recapped this many times on other podcasts and YouTube videos and things like that. Some of the horrific mistakes I made my first years in business. And they're interesting to say the least. And you look back on them, you're like, wow, how could I have been so stupid? How could I have been not knowing, for example, I didn't know that like I had to invoice clients. I thought that just like after a week of work, they paid me like my employer did. Nope. Worked up my first invoice in a cold Iowa hotel on like an office or like a free version of Excel I happened to have on like that hotel computer that had like an invoice template. And that was like the beginning of my stumbles in business. It was ridiculous. So what we're going to talk about is Phil and I are going to kind of go back and forth and talk to you about some of the things you should be doing. Probably, maybe possibly even more important, some of the things that you shouldn't be doing. And then some of the mistakes that people that get into when it comes to starting a business right here. So I know Phil's got some tactical things he's going to work on. I've got some kind of marketing and strategic things we're going to work on. So we're going to start with Phil's list. He's been working on our document. So Phil, I decided to quit my job. I gave my 2 weeks notice. It's the Thursday or Friday before. I'm going to start my new business on Monday. What should I be working on right now to prep for that first day in business, dude?
Ooh, well, so if you haven't yet quit, now is your time to get a credit card for your business. Now is your time to get some emergency stuff in order before you quit. So the 2 weeks before, get a credit card that you're going to use just for the business. Get as high of a limit as you can, but have control on it. And use that just for your business. And this is going to be a bit of a theme here. Is the separation of business and personal is so important. And I missed this for a little bit, but then actually the company that I was with made it very clear that I couldn't use their name. So I had to start an LLC pretty quickly. That's not the case with a lot of folks. They think, oh, I'm just going to do maybe a doing business as or whatever. I would actually encourage you, separate, get that first credit card, and then open a bank account. Set up an LLC with your in your state. If you're in Florida, it's sunbiz.org. Pretty simple. A lot of the states have something similar. You have to register that because in many cases you can't have a bank account with the name of Stop Doing Nothing unless you have an LLC of Stop Doing Nothing as well. So those are the first two things, because money really matters in your business. And I think a lot of folks just assume that that'll be pretty easy.
Got it. And one thing you brought up, which is really good about credit cards that I use to this day, is credit cards just allows you a lot of flexibility when it comes to just managing the finances of your business. We would all like to just work off of the fact that we wait for money to come in and then we pay ourselves, then we pay our bills. But credit card just allows a little bit of a buffer that you have to manage. But you can go ahead and pay for an airline ticket without waiting for the invoice to get paid for another day or two. And you just pay the airline ticket credit card bill off when it comes in. But just having that middle float ground of somebody else's money it's just been such a blessing in my business. So that's a really good tip. What else should people do, Phil?
Well, you mentioned invoice. Yes, you can use Word, but I would tell you, use something QuickBooks Online we mentioned before, or waveapps.com is actually my choice for invoice, because whether people want to send me a check, whether they want to pay me with ACH or they want to pay me with a credit card, I can use Wave Apps. And as long as I have a bank account connected back to it, it's really simple. I find that super important because a professional looking invoice is worth its weight in gold. You look way more referable. You look more legit if you have an actual invoice, and you look legit if you're willing to take that 3% on the credit card and say, okay, well, that's a cost of doing business. If you can't do that when you start the business, then instead crank up your fees 3 to 5% and then offer a discount for those that pay via ACH or via check so that you have those covered. But I really strongly suggest that you get an invoicing tool that will allow you to take money online, because frankly, if I can pay you from my phone, it's painless. If I have to sit down, write you a check, mail it to you, you have to get it. You have to put it in the bank. I mean, yes, most banks, right? They do allow online mobile deposit, but it's still a pain in the butt. And now, to your point about float, Patrick, now I took most are going to go net 30 anyway on you, so that makes it net 38, net 45. How long do you want to float somebody alone for work that you did? You're going to start being resentful. Maybe it's just me, but I like my money now. I actually am net zero with my clients whenever I can be. That's my default, net zero. You pay me before I do the work. You're going to pay me now,
right?
And then I'm going to do the work for you. I think that's really important. In a professional invoice, as soon as we get off the phone, I send you an invoice. As soon as we get off Zoom, I send you an invoice. So you have it there. And sometimes I'll even do that while we're on the phone. Can you use PayPal? Right? This is a question I get. Can you use PayPal?
Good point.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. However, PayPal has very buyer-friendly refund policies. Okay. Very buyer-friendly. So if you're offering services, and this actually happened to me, we were delivering a website. We charged a good amount, very complex website. At day 29, day 30, PayPal lets your funds go. At day 29, this person asked for a refund. And for 2 years, PayPal would give us the money back, and then they take it again, and they give us the money back, and they take it again, because the buyer bought something. Because remember, PayPal was originally bought by eBay. So they're very buyer friendly. So can you use PayPal? Yes. But I would actually encourage you to do that with your bank, with something like Wave Apps, with something like UBO, so that you can actually get this in your bank as soon as possible.
So you're more of maybe a merchant account or a Stripe person versus a PayPal person, what it sounds like.
Yep. Yeah, well, I'm Stripe or Wave Apps has it integrated. I don't even have to worry about that.
Nice.
Right, and QuickBooks, right? QuickBooks has the same thing. Yeah, Wave Apps is free, though.
Yeah, QuickBooks was my main probably financial program until I went to bench for, probably a couple of decades. And I do like QuickBooks. I just don't like managing my own finances, which is the only reason I got off of it. And you mentioned Wave Apps. Does Wave Apps do accounting or just invoicing?
It will do. It'll do some accounting for you, but kind of light accounting. I have a bookkeeper myself, right? I don't manage my own either. I mean, I balance my books, but I don't manage I don't pay my own taxes, right? I have someone who calculates that because they're way too complicated for this simpleton. So, but she can get an account, right? She can get an account. FreshBooks would be another one like that. Mostly Invoice does integrate your bank account, but not really true accounting ledger type style.
Right. And for a while there, I was kind of torn as to which software to get for invoicing, because I actually don't invoice a lot. I just send people to an order page and they order. Now Stripe has invoicing, which has made my life a lot easier. So I don't have to have like a FreshBooks anymore. For a while there, this is really hokey, but like if somebody wanted an invoice to pay, I would have to like get a FreshBooks account for a month, send them a single invoice, wait for it to be paid, and close the FreshBooks account. And then I went to the model that you mentioned, where if we're going to work together, there's going to be a deposit or there's going to be some kind of payment. So here's my order form, which I created in my order form software. Once I see that payment come in, then I'll get to work, and then I'll give you the remaining order form for the other 50% or 30% or whatever. But just the whole concept of issuing an invoice and then sitting on your hands waiting for a payment, that's just total. I rarely do that anymore at all. I rarely do. It has to be a long-term client who I've got a good relationship with, and I know they're going to get to me eventually. That's just the way they do business. Okay, so you've talked about the financial side and a credit card side. What would you do, after you got the financial, after you got the organization of the business set up? What kind of comes next in the first 10 days?
Well, I would have a way of communicating with customers and prospects. I might use MailChimp. We talked about that before. I might use, Keep. I might use something, right, that allows me to communicate with my customers and prospects. And I would separate them as much as I could in there. Now, I would hope that I'd already had an email account. If I don't, I would use Google Suite. I really like it. It's really easy. Google Suite is fantastic. It was Google Apps. Now it's Google Suite. Really great tool for me. Allows a professional looking email address. Do you have to have one? Again, no, but for me, I like things to look professional. So I spend the $6 or $12 a month. Plus, then I can store files online because, again, often I'm sharing stuff with my customers and they need to look at it and they need to be able to review it. And I just find Google Suite makes that super easy if I go with a Dropbox solution. And I do use Dropbox as well because I'm about ease of use for my customer, not necessarily for me. Right. If I want to edit a file, I can do it now. Actually, I just saw this yesterday. I can connect my Google Drive to it. So I can connect Google Slides if I'm updating a slide deck. I can connect to Google Docs for documents. It used to just be Microsoft Office 365. So I actually like that. Oh. So that's an email / document type system as well. That would be next. And some way to communicate with my customers and prospects. So a MailChimp or a Keep or something like that. But something simple. Keep isn't simple. Don't be fooled. If I'm using Keep, I'm probably calling you, Patrick.
Yeah, exactly. I will be the first to admit it's as a Keep certified partner, definitely not simple. And you bring up a very good point real quick I want to touch on is the email list. I cannot emphasize the number of times I've said on stage how important an email list is. And it's one of the very first things you should start in your business is just building up people who are interested in what you have to say. Those are the people that friend you on Facebook, the people that follow you on your fan page, people that follow you on LinkedIn or Instagram. Well, when someone gives you their email address, it's actually they want to be a little bit closer to you than they just are on social media. So it's really important. And I know Phil and I probably talked about email lists and email marketing several times on past shows, but I just want to reemphasize that how important MailChimp is right here. I'm going to jump in the middle of your tactical things, if you can, real quick, and talk about maybe some of the first things that I think you shouldn't be doing versus some of the things that you should be doing. And I would say, don't maybe worry too hard on branding or business cards. Yeah, that's something that I see a lot of, even in 2021, I see people oftentimes just really worried about, what logo should I use? What font should I use? Do I need a business phone number, which is good, but not required? But do I need business cards? Because I'm gonna give out a ton of business cards, and I do have business cards, and I do give them out. However, 1,000 business cards lasted me a lot longer in 2021 than it did in 1998 or something like that. I mean, those things just go forever. So don't worry that you have to have stationery. Don't worry that you have to have an office space because you've probably got a spare bedroom or a kitchen table. I agree with the website, but I don't think it has to be like a full multi 20 page professionally done $10,000 website. No, it's a over the years, the longer I've been in business, Phil, the simpler my websites have become. I used to really want several pages, one for each product and service, and one about me, and one about my history, and one about every contract I've ever had. No, ever since it probably is I'm going to say in the world of landing pages, in the world of ClickFunnels, is oftentimes these days all it takes is one single page to convince people to do business with you. So yes, on a website, it doesn't just have to be a big, complicated, fancy website. And I'm trying to think of some of the other things that I wouldn't do. First, I wouldn't spend a lot of money in general on my first 10 days in business. Even if I set aside $10,000, I would learn how to be stingy with my money for a long time in business before I ever started, buying fancy clothes or anything like that. I can remember even going on my first day in business, I did get a credit card and I went down to the Men's Warehouse and I bought like 3 really nice suits and all the pieces that went along with it. Yeah, for a while there, the Men's Warehouse, I knew them on a first name basis. I can't think of her name, but there was a sales lady there who I'd go in and see, and my wife and I would see her, and they just knew, number one, I was always good for the money. They knew what I had bought before, so they could color match, which is kind of cool. Like if I went in there for a shirt, they're like, oh, let's pull up all the suits and socks you've bought in the past. What shirts are going to go with these clothes? That's one of my big reasons I'm a fan of Men's Warehouse these days. But I really did spend a lot of money probably on clothing when I first went into business, and that was probably unnecessary. I probably could have saved that money. So I would encourage you to become very stingy with your money. Even, it's going to feel like, even stuff like Starbucks. I'm a Starbucks fan. I go out to Starbucks on occasion, but you know what? Dunkin' Donuts coffee to me sometimes tastes just as good as Starbucks coffee. It really does. I'm not a coffee connoisseur. I'm not a coffee snob. If you can tell the difference, it sounds like I may have to blind taste test Phil, with a look on his face some point in time, to see if he can taste the difference between Keurig coffee and Starbucks coffee and Dunkin' Donuts coffee. But if you want a cup of coffee, it doesn't have to be $3. It's okay to have a 75-cent cup of coffee from 7-Eleven. So are you like a coffee connoisseur there, Phil?
Well, so I am, but I don't go to Starbucks or Dunkin'. I buy my favorite beans and I grind them at home. That's also what I do.
Very cost effective.
So,
yes.
Super cost effective, right? Like, so I can buy 5 pounds of beans for $60 from my favorite coffee shop back in Wisconsin, Colectivo Coffee. Love these guys, the Organic Blue Healer. They send it to me, 5 pounds, $60. It will take me probably a month or two, maybe 45 days, because my wife drinks coffee too, and sometimes my daughter drinks coffee too. So maybe 45 days, maybe 60 days at the longest, $60. So that's $1, maybe $2 a day for 3 people to drink coffee. For me, that's great, right? So, because I like good coffee, I like to splurge, but I like to be smart with it. Just like you said, Patrick, Starbucks is a treat for me, but a lot of times, frankly, I'm lactose intolerant. I'll probably get my Wisconsin card revoked for that, but I can't drink dairy.
Right.
I can't eat cheese as much as I'd like, right? So at home, I get a 64 ounces of coconut milk or almond milk or oat milk, and then I put a splash of that, and then I fill my coffee cup up, and that's my thing. And it costs me, $1, $1.20 a day. That's totally worth it for me, and I still get good coffee. That's why I kind of smiled, because I agree with you. I don't think you need to do that. I don't think you need to spend a lot of money. Now, that being said, if you have a customer meeting, coffee is probably the least expensive thing you can do with them. If you're willing to drink coffee, you don't need something froofy, just drink coffee, or get a double espresso if you want one, or just even a glass of water. It's perfectly fine. Not everybody drinks coffee. That's fine, right? But that's an inexpensive, and that way you don't have to pay for office space if you're meeting people face to face, as I like to do. I mean, I spent a good chunk of time as I started my business 11 years ago. I spent a lot of time in coffee shops, meeting people and working there, stealing their wireless. So, yeah.
Yeah, I still do that. My favorite one now is, in my area right now, the Starbucks don't have a lot of staff in them. So some of them aren't even you can't even do lobby sitting anymore. Panera Bread is where all the Panera Breads buy me.
Oh, there you go.
So if I have cabin fever, I'll go out to a Panera Bread or one of my local coffee shops, because Panera Bread's pretty good also about having space. If you want to be 6 feet away from someone, Panera Bread, in my area at least, is pretty good about that. Plus they have outdoor seating stuff. Okay, we still got a list here to move down. What else? So I see some of the things you've got here: landing pages, 3 to 5 news articles. What else would you say people could do to prep for their 10 days, or they should do right after their first 10 days, Phil?
Sure. So you need a pricing model. You need to think about what you're going to charge people. That's really important, right? Again, money. You got to think about that.
Should I be the
What's
cheapest?
that?
Should I go into? Is it viable for me to go into business to say I am going to be the absolute best person on the market and I am going to be the absolute cheapest person on the market? Does that make sense as a business owner?
No, not even close. Not to mention, not all of your time is billable. Let's be really clear here, right? In a 40-hour week, a 50-hour week, you're maybe going to get 10 or 12 hours of billable time. Let's just be honest here. Why do I say that? Because you got to prospect. You got to do overhead work. You got to do other things. You got to market your business. You got to research. You got to do stuff. I mean, I spend so much of my time on, okay, who am I going to call? What am I going to talk to them about? What are they interested in? What do I have as a connection? Is there a path in? I mean, I'm loading up my sales navigator right now. I've got 150 target companies that I want to do some sort of business with. As I load those up, that takes time. I got to put it in. I got to see, okay, so who would be the best person for that? Some companies call them a CMO. Some call it that. So that's another thing to develop is, who am I going to talk to? And on the charging side, here's the thing. I actually recommend charge 5x what you think your hourly rate should be as you're starting out. So if you think, oh, you know what, if I made $25 an hour, I should charge $125. If I thought I'd like to make $50 an hour, then you should charge $250. Now, you might not always get that. Let's be clear. But I've never heard someone say, Phil, you are just too cheap. I'd like to write you a check for even more. No.
I'm not getting negotiated. That's kind of amazing, but go ahead, keep going. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Once in my entire 20 years of business.
Yeah. So that doesn't happen. So we do that, and then know that there are some things that you're going to suck at. So find someone that you trust that you can outsource that to. Patrick, I know you're big on this. My first one that I found was a tax person, because that is not my strength. She will look through, she will see where the deductions are. She will take those for me so that I don't have to stress about them. Who else? What else do you outsource, Patrick? I know this is a big thing for you, man.
Yeah. When I think about outsourcing, and probably behind me on a bookshelf someplace, there's a book on 80-20. Perry Marshall's book on 80-20 in business marketing. And I think,
great book.
Was it Richard Koch that actually came up, or Coach that originally came up with that philosophy? Accounting, for sure. Anything having to do with finances and accounting is a big one. Originally, it was, just like you said, finding an accountant to do my business and my personal taxes. And what was really helpful is to have her do both, because she would do my business taxes, say, this is your profit, and then she would go and she would create my own W-2. This is kind of funny. My accountant creates a W-2 for my business for me at the end of the year. She mails it to me. She mails it to me with a letter saying, Patrick, bring this W-2 back to me so I can do your personal taxes, because she does both of them. It's kind of funny. So accounting is, monthly and annual accounting is big, but I use 2 separate services for this. And this is really a chance to get me to plug a product I absolutely love, Bench. We were talking about QBO earlier, QuickBooks Online. One of the things I did a couple of years ago, which I'm just kicking myself for not doing earlier, is actually giving up like my day-to-day accounting. When I had QuickBooks Online, might have been around the time where I was traveling a lot in business, and I would go months sometimes without putting entries in QuickBooks Online. And then I would get a note from my accountant saying, hey, Patrick, send me your QBO file, whatever it was, your QBF file. I've got to catch up on your taxes. And I would say, okay. And it would be like another 2 weeks because I have to sit there and catch up on multiple bank accounts. Mind you, I'm traveling at the time. So I'm sitting in like a hotel in San Francisco doing data entry work, hoping it's right, reconciling, and then emailing that to her like at 11 o'clock Pacific time. Who knows what time it is, Central. I guess that would be 1 a.m. Central time. And a while back, I discovered a service called Bench, which what Bench basically does is they are not a VA. Well, not in the true sense of a VA. They are not like a QuickBooks contractor. They have their own accounting software, and you give them access to your bank account and your credit cards for your business, and they just pull in all the data. They reconcile it. They do all of your P&L reports and your asset liability reports for you. And then they're basically your virtual CFO. So at the end of the month, you can just pull up your books and say, oh, this is what I made. This is what my profit was. These are where my expenses were. And it's right. And multiple accountants have looked at it. Now, when this concept is foreign to some people who are used to managing their day-to-day line items, when it comes to managing their finances, because you're like, I want to just go into QuickBooks and I want to see the detail. And what you realize after a while is if you've got somebody who's really good at the detail, you don't have to be really good at the detail. You don't. I don't really care anymore that how many Starbucks line items are in my business account. I know that at the end of the month, I've got a number, it's $46, and that was my eating out. And that number is either high or it's low. And so Bench, I think their website is bench.co. That's not an affiliate link. I'll just send you straight there. They just make my life so easy. And they actually work with my accountant I have here in Oklahoma City who does like my quarterly and my annual stuff. And so at the end of the year, Bench is like, we're going to reconcile December. We're going to compare your December stuff to the previous year, make sure it's all in sync. And they give me an Excel spreadsheet that I then forward to my accountant. And she's like, this is awesome. She actually likes it better than the QuickBooks file she used to get. And because all the reconcile work is done and she knows the data entry is right. So finances to me are a big thing of outsourcing. Cold marketing, reaching out to people who have no idea who I am. That's something else I like to outsource. Either doing some cold email contact or some cold phone calls. That is good, kind of mundane work that somebody can do, kind of very rote work is very good. And once you have the money for it, somebody to just, outsource your social media to. Either use a social media service like Meet Edgar or something like that. Or CoSchedule is a big one I like, or just to find a virtual assistant, someone who really likes doing that stuff, who is really good at it, who wants to do it. So those are the things I think of right there when I think about outsourcing.
I like that. I think that's great. I think the other thing you should consider is getting something like Fancy Hands to make it really easy on yourself to outsource just a little research tools. I use fancyhands.com. Actually learned this from our friend Beth Ziesnius. Beth Z, your nerdy best friend. I'm a big fan of Fancy Hands. Yeah, for those little one-off things, I can tell you, I needed someone to research LinkedIn company pages. Could I go through, put in the company, pull up the company page, copy, paste, put it on a spreadsheet? Yes, I could have. But it takes way the heck too long. So instead, I just outsourced it to Fancy Hands. You get 3 or 4 tasks a month for about $15-$20. Totally worth it because they're fast. They're fast. And I love fast. I love things that they can do. And I don't have to think about it, right? I really don't have to think about it. And that makes me super happy because that allows me to really do what I do best. And that's something that I think a lot of us could learn from Patrick as we kind of take this around. The biggest thing is know what you do best as a business owner, know what you don't want to do as a business owner, and do the things that you do best, that you're uniquely qualified to do. So you don't have to stress about absolutely everything. What do you think, Patrick?
No, you bring up a very good point, and this gets back to that whole 80-20 philosophy of things going on. I have learned every single year that I'm in business, probably every single month, I've just learned the things that I'm good at, and the things I'm not good at. I've got someplace in my motivational images, I've got that Venn diagram of what you're good at, what you can get paid for, and I can't think of what the other one is. And then
what you like to do.
What you like to do. Thank you. Good point. And you should only be working in that sweet spot right there. And I can tell you, if I go over to my email account right now, I think I'm 200 or 300 emails behind right now. If I look at a lot of that stuff, I'm good at it. I could probably outsource it. I'm good at it. I can't necessarily like doing all of it. And if I've got any clients watching, forgive me. But there are some things in the client world which I'm good at and I like doing. Some of them I don't like doing, but I can just knock them out really fast, so I do them. But yeah, if you can hit that sweet spot right there. So when I think about that sweet spot, what can I get paid for that I like doing, that I'm good at? For example, like me being, like if I ever chose to, like being a flight instructor, that would be like right there in my sweet spot. I don't know how good I am at being an instructor. I could become good, but I like doing it, and I know there are people that would pay for it right there. So that would be awesome. If I could get away with just flying locally or flying up to Kansas or flying down to Texas, that would be awesome. Video work, the work we're doing right now, I absolutely love this. I don't really necessarily make money from just the live streams off the, like we're doing right now, but I'm pretty good at it, and I like doing it because I like talking, and both you and I are really good presenters on and off stage. So we're both really good at it. We could talk about, stuff for hours, and it's really effortless right there. So when you can find those things that you're really good at in your business, what you've got to start doing is learning to get rid of the other stuff. You don't, if you get rid of the accounting work, then you've got more time to write a blog post, which you may want to write, or make a video, or fly to a meeting. If you can get rid of your social media posting, you've got more time to do prospecting or phone calls or conferences, which are really good business generating things. And I would even say, as a business owner, your job is to really focus on the marketing and sales side of your business. A lot of the other stuff is just maintenance. Social media is maintenance. Content production, this is maintenance. But calling up somebody on the phone, brand new, and saying, hey, my name is Patrick. You've got a pain point. I've got a possible solution. Would you like to hear more? When you can do more of that, whether it's via email marketing or one-on-one coffee shop meetings or phone call meetings, the more you do that, the more revenue you're going to bring in. And the more revenue you're going to bring in is going to allow you to outsource things more. So, eventually you get to the point where you're just working on sales and marketing for, if you're lucky, maybe, 10 hours a week. That's funding everything else, and you can focus more on the fun things. So you brought up a very good point. As a business owner, I would always encourage people to just work on that Venn diagram. And like I said, it pops up. I've got like a rotating set of images that show up in my Mac backdrop. And that Venn diagram is in there. It just hasn't come up recently. But you brought it up. That's a very good point. And, accounting, I would say the one I keep coming back to accounting because it's just so important to everything. It's important for if you want to get a loan for your business. It's important if you want to get credit. The IRS, for some reason, really likes your books to be in order also. Your accountant really likes your books to be in order also. So that would be one of my higher priority things in my first 10 days. So I was looking for things to outsource.
Cool. Yeah, good stuff, Patrick. Holy crap, man. We could talk about this all day, man. But I think we've given them enough value here in the last hour that they're going to be like, whoa, dude. That's going to blow my brain. So let's wrap up here. Let's give them one more thing that they can take home, that they can get going on here, because we talked about so much. So if they're going to stop right now and do something, and they're going to stop doing nothing, let's do something. What would your one thing be that you'd want them to do?
I would say, if you haven't got it, let's go with the email list on my side. If you haven't got the email list yet, go to MailChimp and get a free email account. And the MailChimp will give you like a little form, a little single link for a form to get someone signed in. Hop over to your social media account and say, hey, I'm going to have a newsletter. If you want it, post it and get that link out on social media. If you could do that you could probably do that within the next 30 minutes of after watching this podcast or watching this video, then you are going to be so far ahead of the people that are not building up an email list. And if you're concerned because somebody's got an email list of 300,000 and you may have an email list of, one or two, you know what? That person of 30,000, they had to start with one or two. So get on that email list. I don't know, what's your one tip for someone to start doing right after they watch the show?
Well, I love your tip. I think that's super important, but I'm going to suggest you get that bank account set up. and get it connected to Wave or QB or something that will allow you to get some money. Because marketing's great, sales are better. I like money. Money drives my business. So get the ability to take some money in and put it in a separate account, because even if you have to do your books yourself, if you have it in a separate account, you don't have to save all those stupid receipts if you do a good job of saying, this is what I spent on Amazon. Oh, I got this. I went to Starbucks with a client, with a prospect. Therefore, It isn't just me paying for my coffee, but actually paying for our coffee. Really important stuff.
Got it. So after the show today, you're gonna get an email list, and you're gonna go out there and get that bank account to make sure you get yourself organized. So we've covered a lot of tips. Make sure if you're kind of catching us in the middle, that you go back to the beginning and listen to some of the tech news that we covered. As always, Phil and I are always gonna push you to action. That's the entire reason I bought this neon sign right here and my little mic box. I can't even think what that thing's called. It's got a bizarre name. It's not
Mike Flag. Mike Flag.
Flag, thank you. A Mike Flag. Somebody made that up years ago and it's stuck. As always, we'd encourage you to subscribe to the Stop Doing Nothing YouTube channel and podcast. And I want to mention that here really quick. We haven't got the landing page up yet, Phil, but Phil and I do have an event coming up that we're working on for you at a website called, is it Orlando Marketing?
Summit.com. Yeah. OrlandoMarketingSummit.com.
Right. So we don't have a lot of details on that yet, but we will soon. Make sure you go to that website and bookmark it, because we'll have a landing page up there for you pretty soon, because we have to get off of our butts and get that website done. Also, as always, thank you for listening if you're watching live. Phil, thanks as always, man, for coming on every month and being my guest, because you and I could just riff forever on this stuff. I can't wait till we do one of these live in Orlando.
Yeah. Going to add even more value to folks' lives. I'm excited that you're going to come to Orlando and spend some time with me, and that we're going to help people really crush their business and stop doing nothing.
Exactly. So as always, guys, have a great week. It's Tuesday. Have a great Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Take action on all the stuff we said. If you have any questions on any of this stuff, as always, hit us up on social media, message Phil, connect with Phil, message me, connect with me. We will gladly answer any questions out of this. But as always, thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next show.